Section number 8 of the Georgics. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by caveat. The Georgics by Virgil, translated by Harriet Waters Preston. Book number 3, part number 2. Thereon the breeder, with assiduous care to round their limbs with fatness, richly feeds the elected stallions, who the honours wear of lordly rank and the fathering of steeds, serving them corn in plenty and water pure, and flowering grasses, forbidding them endure howso slight labour, lest the weakly frame of the son accuse the abstinence of the sire. But the mares he starveth to leanness without shame, and drives them, vexed with the stingings of their young desire, from running streams and succulent leaves away, or gallops anon till they falter under the ray of the blazing noon, what time the threshing floor groans heavily neath the press of bruised grains, as the idle chaff, as the west-winged surge's oar is carried abroad. For other cares are vain, if the steed land, spent with an ecstasy too keen of bearing, furrowed unto no end have been, and seizeth no more the germ to hide within. Thus far of the sires, the dams be now thy care, and in the set months when their foals they carry, harness them unto no heavy wains, nor dare suffer them leap in the road, and be thou wary lest they scour the meadows in all too fleet a course, or breast the stream when the ravening waves are hoarse, but feed them rather in solitary places, on shadowy hills or by full flowing streams, bordered with moss and the greenest of grasses, where they may lie untouched by the ardent beams, in the shelter of mighty rocks and hollow caves. Now in the wooded land that Celarus laves, Alburnus of the evergreen ilex trees, myriads of winged creatures throng the air, in the language of Rome a silly called, but these are gadflies unto the Greeks, and they do scare all herds with their piercing resonance of their wings, and drive them asunder until their bellowings madden the very woods, the stricken sky, and the banks of the Tangier, spent with summer suns. And such scourge fierce Juno did apply, in terrible spite to the heifer Io once. But the sires again, whom the fervours of noon excite, thou shalt part from the pregnant dams, and feed while the light of dawn is new, or the stars lead on the night. So come the calves of the flock to birth, and he, the breeder, careth henceforth for these alone, hastening to brand with name and pedigree, that they who are set for the flock's increase be known, and they who shall serve at the altars of the gods, or furrow the field and break its bristling clods, the remnant leave to graze in the verdant mead. But unto those who are meet for the energies and the passion of rustic life, give them good heed, admonish them oft, and rule in steadfast wise. For soft the spirit of youth, continually and easily be entreated. Wherefore tie loose coils of delicate withe around the free neck of the young creature, till he have wonted grown, and doth no more of such compulsion wreak. Then of two circlets cunningly bound in one, thou shalt fashion a yoke, and bid thy bullocks twain keep equal steps thereunder. Or yet again, they are harnessed to empty carts whose wheels do make barely an imprint upon the dusty road, nor yet for long shall the ashen axle quake, and groan with the labour of its ponderous load, or the gilded pole its branded circles draw. But the younglings docile yet unto no law, thou shalt not suffer to feed on grass alone, or sedge of the fen, or the willow foliage thin, but serve them with gathered fodder out of thine own hand, nor dream of the motherly cow to win pails brimming white in the fashion of our sires, but lavish all on the young one's dear desires. Or, if thy ruling passion thee incline to ride among the fierce alarums of war, to speed thy flying chariot through the divine bossage of Jove, or skim the banks afar in Pisa of Alpheus, bestow thy care. Burst on thy racer till thou have taught him bear the vision of men at arms for strife arrayed, and to suffer the blast of cornet, and discern the cry of wheels behind, unafraid, and the jingle of reins in the stall, and he shall learn, increasingly as he groweth, to rejoice in the soft flatteries of his master's voice, and the silken smoothing of his mane to love. So try him from the earliest hour when thou dost from the udders of the mare remove, and often in pliant headstalls him allow to show his face, even in his witless years, even while weak and shaken of idle fears. Then in the 4th summer, after 3 fulfilled, let him essay his paces in the ring, till he in sonorous even steps be skilled, and knoweth aright his wreathed limbs to fling, alternate, and the will of his lord obey. Then loosen thy rein, and let him have free way, and call to the breeze, as flying over the level he heaveth barely a footprint in the sand. Even so do the dry north winds arise and reveal, when they swoop from Hyperion marches, and the clouds disperse, and herald the Scythian cold, and light and swift at first are the billows rolled over the flooded fields and the bearded grain. Then cometh a murmur in the topmost trees, and the breakers press inland from the main, and the gale is abroad o'er lands alike and seas. But he, thy reeking courser, scoureth over the uttermost reaches of the Ilian field, till the blood-sprinkled foam his lips doth cover, or yet, mayhap, his neck doth easier yield to the light harness of the Belgian car. Then, when at last his powers obedient are, feed with farrago rich of mingled grains, till unto a mighty bulk his limbs have grown. For ere the docile servitor he remains, he will rise full oft in his wrath, and will disown, touch how so light, of the lash in lordly hand, and the iron tyranny of the bit withstand. But all that thy most diligent care can lend of power unto thy beasts will not exceed what the blind fury of passion may expend. If horses or beeves thy pleasure to breed, lead then thy bulls into pastures lone away, where mountain barriers may their course delay, or the breadth of mighty rivers o'er them detain. Secure in the yard and feed abundantly, for the strength of their youth consumes in ardours vain, if they do but look upon the heifer young, and she no memory of refreshing groves doth suffer, in them nor the banquet of sweet grass they offer, albeit as soft enticements do compel to clashing horns and their decision dread. Her lovers, howsoever indomitable, behold the beauteous creature who hath fed in the great forest of Scylla, and behold her amorous pair in furious conflict rolled. They deal swift hurts alternately, and the gore runs black from all their bodies, and they do knit their obstinate horns and push with so fierce roar that the forest and all the ether echo it, and two such enemies never more may bide under the selfsame shelter side by side. But the conquered goeth away into far exile, scorned of his foe, and wistful glances throwing at the stalls where he and his fathers reigned erewhile. And he filleth alien shores with his great lowing, over the sting of his loss and the wounds and shame. So then, that thou invigorate all his frame with labour, and be his nightly couch unstrewn, save with the stones of the field, and let his fare be foliage rude, and the cutting sedge alone, and suffer him scatter the sand and lash the air, preluding battle and bore with the angry horn at the boles of trees in the transport of his self-scorn. Then, when his prowess is ripened, maketh he a sudden onset upon the heedless foe. A wave, beginning to whiten in mid-sea, rolleth its bellying volume shoreward, so roars over the rocks, and curling to its fall, foams to its crest, o'erleaps the sea-cliff tall, and scatters the sand of the deep's dark bed o'er all. Yea, all the generations of living things, of men and ravening beasts and grazing flocks, the watery tribes, and they that of the painted wings, plunge in the self-same fires, and suffer the shocks alike of maddening passion. Under its goad, the never so merciless lioness roams abroad, and mindeth not her whelps. The unshapely bear lavishes carnage along the ways of men, and of the forest, and yet more wanton are than their fierce wont the boar and the tiger then. And ill in the hour when the lust of the brute hath sway, is it wandering in Libyan deserts far away. Nay, hast thou never felt the shuddering strong of thy steed's body, if he do but scent the familiar odour borne the breeze along? Then shall no mastery, howso violent, of stinging lash, nor the rider's bit restrain, nor cliffs, nor caves, nor barrier streams detain, nor the breaker that teareth a mountain from its base. Even the Sibyllian boars do rushing wet rapacious tusks, and the loosened soil displace with restless feet, and on the tree stems fret, their flanks alternate, and wound and callous make. What then of the stripling when the flames awake of pitiless love, and fire his very marrow? Late is the night with sudden tempest black, and the surge tumultuous when the strait is narrow. Yet will he breast the sea while over his track in thunder part the portals of heaven high, and the billows that lash the crags give grim reply. but he stayeth not for the cry of the wretched pair, who bore him, nor for hers his hapless love, who will pass by a cruel death. And why declare what stings the spotted lynxes of Bacchus move, or the savage offspring of dogs and wolves, or the rage of the mighty stag, and the warfare he doth rage? For the fury of all these tribes is naught to theirs, the daughters of them enraged in days gone by, of Venus' self the chariot-harnessed mares, who Glaucus rent for his crimes in Pompneae, now driven of love through floods and mountains o'er, nor Gargarus heed they, nor Asinius roar. But suddenly, when the smouldering fire doth blaze in the insatiate marrow, and oftenest in spring, because the ardour of the spring days rekindles their own, their flight they do arrest on some precipitous verge, and panting there invite the soft caress of the western air. And verily, however strange the tale, they ofttimes of no sire impregnate be, but only of Zephyr. Many a hollow vale and stony waste they scour unceasingly, yet make they never for the orient sun, nor yet for thy dwelling, Orus, but they run toward the homes of Boreas and Chorus, and the realm where Auster is born in blackness, and the air in mournfullest pall of chilling rain doth whelm. So falleth drop by drop from the groin of the mare, the very Hippomanes, oft as shepherds tell, mixed with the brewage of herbs, where oft the spell of some hard stepmother maketh a potion fell. End of section number 8.